Let's see what we got here. Wow, this hand is pretty awkward. Double Ulamog, Karn, Relic, Gemstone Caverns, 2 Tron pieces. The second Ulamog is almost a mulligan. If we could find the power plant, though, this hand would be really good. I think this is very borderline hand. I'm gonna keep. I wonder what most Tron players would do in this situation. I feel like a lot of players would mulligan. I'm gonna keep it, so we'll see how this goes. All right, another Karn, not what the doctor ordered there. So we get a cycle. So we get 3 draws towards the power plant, just power plant, or we could have hit a green source into other cards to get power plant, but it looks like we're still not there. All right, here's the quote-unquote green source that I was talking about, Chromatic Sphere. So we're just going to pop it. If we draw Stirrings or Scrying, we can immediately use it. Instead, just a Forest, so it's not the worst. It means that a Stirrings or Scrying, we can cast. And it looks like our opponent's on Jund, one of the better matchups traditionally for Tron. So we're just hoping to get power plant as soon as possible. That's the game plan. And this Chromatic Sphere, it looks like, is going to help fuel this Tarmogoyf, which is a little bit unfortunate. Alright, there's another big spell. So this happens. Some percentage of the games with the Tron deck, you just draw the wrong half of the deck. Either you draw all the lands or you draw too many of the fatties. So we drew on Karn and Wormcoil rather than power plant, or any ways to find power plant. Ugin is the card we actually would want more than any of these other big cards, but we haven't drawn that one. Because Ugin would allow us to just completely sweep our opponent's board immediately, whereas a Karn, it's only going to be able to get 1 card. Even Ulamog only gets 2 things. So looks like we're just going to lose this game. Huntmaster is going to flip into Ravager of the Fells. That's going to bring us to 12, and our opponent's got 10 damage as of right now. So, yep. Gonna take the hit here. And 1 lightning bolt. That'll finish us off, but I don't think we actually have outs. No matter how you slice it. There's another Goyf. Alright, there's the Ugin. Pretty nice hand to end the game on, wouldn't you say? 7 uncastable cards? Sure. So we have to expect after sideboard, our opponent's gonna bring in Fulminator. We're gonna take out Gemstone Caverns and swap in a Ghost Quarter for it. I like boarding in Oblivion Stone. Thragtusk is also pretty solid here. But we do need to make some cuts. So Relic of Progenitus, it is fine at stopping a Goyf. I'm going to shave 1. Spellskite I don't really like in this matchup. It dies to Liliana. So we've got some other removal spells we could go to. So Blessed Alliances, Path to Exiles. These are fine cards, but we don't want necessarily too many of them. I think I'm actually fine boarding out the relics if we're going to board in Pass and Blessed Alliance, because these are also outs to straight up outs to Goyf rather than sacking relic type of outs to Goyf. So I'm gonna go with this configuration, and we don't want to be, if we're boarding in that many white cards, we definitely want to keep in all of our stars and spheres, or at least I like to. So this hand is definitely different than our last one. We don't have the same amount of explosive potential, but it's probably going to be a bit more of a consistent average type of draw. We may not hit Tron. We'll see what Ancient Stirrings can do for us here. So we found a tower. So I like grabbing the tower immediately off the Stirring. So we're one land away from Tron once again. Isn't that funny how this deck works? So the Thoughtseize, we'll see if our opponent wants to get rid of an O-Stone. I would think that Thragtusk would be the grab because we've got 2 copies of O-Stone, but it just depends on the contents of our opponent's hand. They could have multiple discard spells, so they might want to go take an O-Stone, take another O-Stone, but it looks like Thragtusk is going to be the pick here. And Ancient Stirrings, that's a good draw. The question is, do we use it right now or not? Yeah, I think we do, just because we know our opponent has all of this discard. And we've got options here. So Chromatic Star, it's a filler card, essentially, in this hand. It helps us to cycle towards Tron, but it's not actually a big spell. So it's a close decision here. Ugin is really powerful, so I'm going to take the Ugin. Hope we get to it. And hopefully it's not like last game where just didn't happen. But sometimes against John, the game becomes really grindy. So that was a tough decision, what to take in that spot. So our opponent does have a Bob. That's pretty good. That's pretty much the best creature our opponent could have. We don't want to see Fulminator. That would be the best card our opponent could play here. An Inquisition, that's pretty good too. So that could hit either the Talisman or the O-Stone. Looks like it's going to be the O-Stone. So our opponent might have something like an Abrupt Decay or a removal spell of some sort to get rid of the O-Stone we have in play. Unclear. And there it is. So we actually got lucky. Or you could say we just got there. So there it is. The exact card we wanted. Just going to jam Ugin here. And that's gonna be the game rather. So that's sometimes what happens. You have to get there. We didn't get there game 1, and we just got there pretty hard this game. So now we get to sideboard on the draw. So that means we can board in Gemstone Caverns potentially. But this card, it's actually not that great in this matchup because the matchup is pretty grindy. So even if you don't necessarily want to even exile a card with it. It's definitely weird. Rest in Peace. It shuts off Goyf and Scavengers. We might actually want Rest in Peace. Over Blessed Alliance, say. And we keep in our big stuff, I think. We just want those lands early, those Tron lands. So I'm gonna submit. And some Jund lists actually don't play Fulminator. I think most do. Most play some sort of land destruction, because Tron is one of the tougher matchups for Jund, but not all do. So this hand is, it's definitely a decision. Only one land, first of all. But we have double scrying and double path. I think I'm gonna keep it. We certainly need to draw another land at some point, but these paths can hold down the fort, and we did draw another land, so we're gonna play Chromatic Sphere. Next turn, we can sacrifice the sphere to Sylvan Scrying, assuming that the sphere stays in play, which it looks like it's going to. So we'll see how our opponent lines up this Inquisition. Now, the problem with the Sylvan Scrying is that we really want a green and white land, but we also want to hit Tron. So it looks like one of the Scryings is going to hit the bin here. And that's pretty telling. This could mean that our opponent is going to follow up with the Liliana, because we haven't seen any creatures yet. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the game plan. So, it's going to crack the sphere. Urza's Mine, not the best draw. So, I'm going to play Ghost Quarter. And get an Urza's Tower here. So we can, if our opponent plays a creature threat, we would much rather that than a Liliana. That's for sure. And it's actually the other Liliana. So Liliana of the Last Hope is not quite as good here as Liliana of the Veil, that's for sure. And now we drew a Sylvan Scrying, so we can actually go Chromatic Star, pop the star for green, and then Sylvan Scrying for the power plant. So if our opponent does have Fulminator Mage, they could Fulminator Mage, get back Fulminator Mage with Liliana. So we really need our opponent not to have Fulminator Mage, because that is a pretty absurd combo. Liliana the Last Hope plus Fulminator. But it looks like our opponent does not have the Mage. So our opponent's got 4 cards in hand. I think we want to just play this play one of our Oblivion Stones, I should say, out and just pass the turn. Although our opponent could actually minus the Liliana of the Last Hope. So I actually don't mind just popping Oblivion Stone right away, just to get rid of the Liliana. Our opponent can either move towards ultimating it, or minus it, find a creature, and gain value that way. And it's pretty unlikely our opponent has Liliana of the Veil in their hand. So if our opponent's just, say, attacking us with Raging Ravine, that would be the best case scenario. And it looks like that's probably what's going on here. So, yep, activate Raging Ravine, sure, why not? And I don't want to commit this other Oblivion Stone to play until our opponents played something we actually want to get rid of. So now that we have this Talisman of Unity, we can just crack this Chromatic Star because we have a white source. So crack Chromatic Star, find Expedition Map. So we can put this Expedition Map into play. As well as the Talisman. But we still need one of our major threats. But we can sacrifice the map in order to get Sanctum of Ugin. Or we can simply keep the map in play, but our opponent's playing Liliana of the Veil here. And a Scavenging Ooze. Okay, so we have this other Oblivion Stone in hand that we're pretty incentivized to play now. So I like cracking the map. And the question is, what do we want to find with it? We could find a green and white source, like a Horizon Canopy, which is going to allow us to play the Path to Exiles, even if we don't have the mana. If we don't have white mana, which if we crack the Oblivion Stone right away, we're not going to. So I like getting the Horizon Canopy here. And we can also use the Horizon Canopy simply to draw a card. So it serves two purposes. So, yep, just going to use the Oblivion Stone. And so our opponent's left with 2 cards in hand. We've gone through 2 Planeswalkers, and it looks like it's just going to be a passing of the turn. So I don't think we even sacrifice the Canopy, and bang, there's Ulamog. So we don't have Sanctum, which would be great while we're casting Ulamog, but we're just fine without it. And this could just be game over, depending on what our opponent has in hand. So our opponent has outs. Top deck Liliana would be good. Although it looks like our opponent's got something to cast here. So it's going to be Colligan's Command. Alright, so that's going to get back a Scavenging Ooze, but that's not that relevant. Yeah, Scavenging Ooze, not worried about it. In fact, let's just path that away right now.